Welcome to the Radiant Visalia podcast. Join us at one of our two services, 9 a.m. and 10:45 a.m. Download the Church Center app or visit our website, radiantvisalia.com, to stay connected with us. All right, enjoy.
There is a heavenly city that I'm compelled to find.
The list at each one of those areas that really needed some attention and tender loving care with our Radiant kids. Through the summer, we added 75 to 100 more volunteers working with our kids. And we also have had a model put into place that's much more sustainable for our Radiant Kids ministry. And so that change has happened and we're implementing that now. We've also seen a lot of shift in our staff. Aaron, Largoza, and Ed, where are you guys? Where are you guys? Stand up for a second. Aaron, Largoza, and Ed were added in leading our junior high ministry in July. Was it July? Is that right? I thought it was about July. And you're going to be hearing a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes. Sean Baldwin was added in as our financial director, and he's actually coming a little bit late tonight because he's at the Visalia Rescue Mission. He's on the board there, helping them with finances, and he's coming a little bit late. So he's going to have a couple of moments with you later. Mike Young, where are you, Mikey? Mike Young was added in July as our operations director. Dahlia Ramirez and Alexa Sierra, where are you guys? Alexa's back there, and Dahlia here. They were added in at our front desk and with some additional admin responsibilities. And that has been a total blessing. It has really been great. I think the reality is there's been so many additions and changes in these new staff members coming in, and they came right in the middle of summer, that I would say right now as we're coming into January, I think we're kind of hitting our stride, finding our sweet spot as a staff, and I have high hopes that we're going to be able to function as a staff at our maximum capacity, which is I think it's an amazing group of people, and it's something that I'm celebrating. I also would say that we're not taking it lightly that in October of this last year, we were able to plant a Radiant Church in Tulare with a Sunday evening service. And they are growing and they are seeing some cool things happen. And Jared's going to give us an update about that later. But that's exciting for us. On the building front, we have what we feel like is some really specific plans that are going to help us in this building to be able to maximize what we can do. You know, bottom line here, being in a downtown church area, there's not much room to expand. You know, if we find that we're feeling a little bit hemmed in, we can't go further out very many places. So we're a little bit limited to our footprint here, but we are wanting to maximize what's happening. And so we have some plans for the mill here for our sanctuary space that I think we have some slides that will go up there. Okay, and what this identifies on these slides, we plan to maximize the space in here, which has to do with taking out some of the rooms on this side, adjusting some things up front to allow more people to get in and allow it to have a little more access for ministry. We also plan on making some adjustments in our foyer. I don't know if you notice on a Sunday morning, but our foyer can get kind of loud in the middle of our service with people's voices. So we're putting a ceiling on the foyer is one of the things we're doing. And we're also going to maximize our foyer area by adding a welcome patio out to our east side that we're going to have covered, that is going to be a welcome area for people to come in. And we are possibly going to have our accessing for children sign-ups there for our, what do we call that? Whatever that is, for our classes. Our computers, whatever that is. Whatever that sign-up system is there. We're looking at having that there and possibly other things as well. But the whole idea is to look to increase the size of our foyer without being able to add space, because we don't have any space we can add. So there's some creative ideas that are going on there. Also, there's a new playground structure that's going to be being put in the next few months. And yeah, that's going to be good. And it also includes some things that don't really show on this diagram, but Neva's also designed some things for our younger kids that might not necessarily jump on the playground, but some areas that are going to be safe for them to play and a little more developed. So that's going to be happening. We're making some modifications in the Radiant Kids building, and what's happening there is we're adding one more classroom and removing what has been a kitchen that's been obsolete for us. We've used it periodically, but we're finding it to be not efficient in that we're having to keep it up to code, and it's become very expensive. So we are going to transform what is currently a kitchen into another classroom. Then we have a full remodel that's going to be going on in Amigo Row. And this is kind of your looking at it from the different sides. It's hard to see all that this is. But we are going to be finishing out the youth area. We're going to be adding full bathrooms and putting our church offices in Amigo Row in the downstairs and upstairs area. So that's going to be finished out. That's part of our plan. Part of that will be redoing the front of that on Main Street so it's not all glass windows, nor is it all boarded up glass windows so that people can't see in all the time. So that's another transition that we'll be doing. And then finally, we'll be changing this office area here that we have and adding 2 more additional classrooms so that we have enough room for our kids that are continuing to expand and not having to have them walking across parking lots into other areas. So those are the things that have taken place in this last 6 to 8 months, which are pretty significant shifts in some areas that we had some concerns about. Now, it doesn't finish up everything because I can't tell you right now that here's when the buildings are going to start. We have some pretty clear plans now that we're in the process of getting bids on, and then we will be needing to have another members meeting where we'll be talking about raising some money, a capital campaign of some kind. But that's down the road. We wanted to give you that update, and I think the other thing we'd like to do now is give you a little bit of a glimpse from a personal side of some of the highlights ministry-wise. And I'm going to start this off by just saying, I think for me, the highlight for me in this last 6 to 8 months has been really the people. The new people that have been added in staff have been a total blessing. It's been a lot of fun seeing them added in, and they brought a dynamic into our staff that's been fun. I think having Steve and Becky Whitmer, where you guys added into us, has been a total blessing that we have reaped so much from. So thank you guys for carving out time to be with us in mission here, and hope that this isn't the end of it. So we've been excited about that. I'm excited about increased leadership in our leadership tracks, men and women that are rising to different places of leadership in our church. I think that's the thing I'm celebrating, super excited about, because I think as the leaders are healthy and are leading with vision and walking in their gifts, that we as a church family are going to be able to walk in that as well. I think there's a beautiful mission that's ahead of us, and we're excited to go there together. So I'm excited to see some of those that God's brought along to help lead us. So Mike, you want to come next? Matter of fact, I'm going to say, those of you that are going to share a bit in the highlights, why don't you come on up here and grab so that you're not all, there's not a big a wait in between.
I think I'm actually going to have Steve share, since he was just name dropped. The Steve Whitmer, everybody. And he has a voice for radio too, so it really soothes me and put me at ease.
Oh my, you guys are hysterical. And I just want to give you a few updates on the delightful role that my wife and I have been able to play in coming in just to serve the leadership team. The ask from Travis and Tiffany was that we would come and just pour into leaders. And I said, what does that look like? And Travis's job description simply was, come and love our leaders. And I thought, that's a great job description. I love that. How that's played out in the last few months is that we've been blessed to be able to come in and once a month and share in the staff times and do some staff training. And the incredible team that's gathered here as part of your staff are so tender-hearted and responsive to the Holy Spirit. It's easy to talk. Matter of fact, the only challenge I have is getting them to stop praying. That's the problem, because the prayer times tend to extend into the workday. And so you have to pray that God will stop praying, you guys. Stop praying. And then additionally, Larry Schmidt and I have been blessed to go up to the Fitzpatrick's beautiful ranch up by Three Rivers. And we've been hosting what we're calling the Father's Heart Weekends for guys. We're taking just 6 guys at a time. And we've had 2, and we have 2 more in the books between now and Easter. And so looking forward to how God's going to really open up doors to share with men the experience of stepping into kingdom culture. Was the kingdom culture a blessing, using our words and our actions to bless others. And so it's a wonderful theme that we're propagating. And why men? Well, because I believe that fathers and men have a responsibility to speak identity into people's lives as part of the role. So we're using our voice as guys to speak blessing over folks. And then the highest value that Becky and I have in our time here is just to be able to work with what is, for us, a star-studded team. And I've said this before, but let me say it here as I wrap my time. I've had the privilege of serving in a lot of places in a lot of roles, some internationally. And what I'm about to say, I'm not saying just because I want you to like me, or it's true. That you have a star-studded listed team of leaders here that is remarkable. And the fact that there's a treasure in your staff that is so profound, I can't figure out why God has all of you here. It hasn't scattered you like to every continent on the globe, but you're all kind of parked here in the Central Valley. And I'm wondering what God might be up to. Just wondering what God might be up to. Can we just say thank you to the team?
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Coming on as the operations director, a couple of things I had in my focus was our volunteers and our process of helping people connect into Radiant. I think we do a fantastic job of gathering people. People can feel when they walk in the room, it's a good place to be. But it's like a hidden treasure map on how to get connected and stay connected. And you guys found the map. Congratulations. We want to help more people find it. So what I'm celebrating this in the 6 months of being here is we're slowly trying to get a kind of a master schedule of serving on Sunday onto Planning Center, where mostly our kids teams have been using it and other teams, but we're trying to get everybody scheduled through that so that, because I found out that many of you don't just pick one team to serve on, you serve on 5, and then we're trying to organize your schedule and when you're out of town, and if we can keep it on one spot, it helps. So that's a little nerdy thing I'm celebrating, trying to get everybody out there. And you can help me by completing a background check so I can actually put you in there, because some of you have suspect, I'm sure, backgrounds. And then in the future, I'm looking forward to you'll be hearing soon about a rolled out plan to assimilate people in an ongoing way, in a real simple way where they can come any Sunday they show up, they can be a part of something where they find out what's important to us and how to get on board. So that'll be coming soon. I'm looking forward to that. The people I'm celebrating I should have known this, but I just was really, of course, those of you that volunteer, kids' classrooms, security teams, it's so key, but there's so many people that volunteer as team leaders even. And that to me, that just blows me away. So, I mean, here in Visalia, we have, Mark's leading our media team. Our Connect team is led by the 4 different people, Jessica Valley and Dan Peters, Rob Robertson, the Witchies, and the Floreses, and the security team, Randy Van Pearson was leading forever, and now Blake Maskey's taking it on. So I was amazed. These people just give their time, not just to serve, but to coordinate people who are serving. And but in particular in Tulare, when I've been to Tulare, I mean that thing is just packed with volunteer leaders that are just making things happen on a Sunday. Chris, the Jollies, Ryan Turner, Carmen, Jacobo, she's coordinating a bunch. Zapphire's doing the whole kids program as a volunteer. Dan, Seth. I mean, it's just all these, who? Annie Braun. It's just it's amazing. These people are just giving time to not just serve, but to lead and get other people serving. And that's just gold for me. So those are the people I'm celebrating. You don't have to clap. It's fine. It wasn't that good.
They're clapping because you're done finally, Mike. 1 minute over your timer there, Mike. I'm running over, buddy. I saw it. Hey, you guys know me. I'm Noel. I lead the men's pack and men's ministry, and Tiff leads the women's pack and women's ministry. She'll talk, but I thought it was appropriate. We're wearing cardinal and burnt orange. Terrible match. We're both very different, and we're leading in our own unique ways and working together. So I had a great plan for what I was going to say until I talked to Tiff this afternoon, and I love her for it. Hey, I wanted to talk about some of the stuff that's been happening in men's ministry. So first thing that happened over the fall in men's ministry would have been Man Camp. And I'm happy to report that we had 149 men register and attend Man Camp, which is the most that we've ever had. So that was really awesome. While we were there, we were challenged to grow in the Spirit. We were challenged to grow in forgiveness. We were also challenged to grow in revival. And one of my, or to grow hearts for revival. And one of my favorite conversations was with a few of my buddies. The morning after, we had received a sermon on tongues in particular, really the gift of the Spirit, but we had practiced a little bit the idea of tongues, and man, were we stretched. So if you're ever feeling stretched in that way, man, we were all feeling stretched, and it was fun to have a conversation with guys who love the Lord, who've come from different backgrounds and are just asking the right questions. Also, that week, we had 70 men come on a Wednesday morning to pray for Man Camp, which was super cool. We ate burritos, we broke fast together, and we prayed. We also, PACs happened this fall, and we had 29 men's PACs. That means 29 amazing leaders of those PACs, and there were 177 men who joined a PAC, which is the most that we've had as well. So that's a huge celebration. Guys, we're still trying to catch the ladies. They had like 1 million or something like that. But anyway, we're getting close. I think the highlights of that season were to hear from man after man talk about two things in particular I think really were challenging for us in a good way. The first was the conversations we had around sound doctrine. I think it was really interesting for us to talk to each other about pencil, pen, blood. How are we holding these things? And then the other one was, that was a highlight, was also the topic of prophecy. In particular, I got to receive a picture from a PAC leader of a bunch of guys in his PAC praying for one guy in particular, just speaking prophetically over his life. This guy had received a really hard diagnosis in the fall and, emotionally was just up against it. And so it was awesome to see that put on display. And so I share that with you because you didn't get to see the picture that I got to see. Last but not least, we have some plans for the spring. In fact, we've already had a man morning in December. I was able to form a team of guys who are helping put together some events. And that's one of the things that's been real exciting for me is to try and bring more guys into the fold in leadership capacities. Leadership capacities big and small. And so we've got another man morning coming up in February, and we're just bursting with vision for different things that we can do together, excuse me, as men. Tiff.
That's awesome. I love it. I just want to jump on the tail end of that and also celebrate that we had 38 women's PACs, which represents 38 leaders and 252 women in PACs. And those 38 leaders were cared for by 8 leaders who were PAC advocates, just kind of coming alongside and helping to support and encourage. And that's really an incredible thing. When the church has the responsibility or mandate to disciple, there's no perfect formula, but looking, at having probably over 450 people in ongoing discipleship groups, pressing in, letting the Word of God shape them, pressing into relationship, being vulnerable with one another, and pursuing growth in Christ. It's just a huge, huge win and something to really celebrate. So I just want to celebrate PACs in general. This December, we got together as women and got to just share stories of this fall PAC season, which has been just personally one of my favorites, our time in Timothy together. Really incredible things happened in my PAC personally, and then just hearing PAC leaders sharing stories of confession, of breakthrough, of healing, of deliverance, of just really incredible things that God's doing in these groups. Not to mention, I think I texted Katie Boxred this week, like, hey, I heard this girl in your pack had surgery. And it was like, oh yeah, already on it, already meals being delivered, and just so many stories like that of hearing just communication going on and people really caring for one another in a family kind of way. And that's just something to celebrate. We also have, I guess before I transition, I wanted to just celebrate even more specifically Mona Paraka, I don't know if she's here, and Hannah Zerlang both stepped in to lead a pack for the first time this year. And Mona, she had messaged me like, oh, I'll lead a pack. There was this one lady at church I was sitting next to I talked to, so her and I are going to pack together, and I'll lead that. It was like, I'll lead a pack with one person in it. And I was like, all right, sounds good. And then the sign-ups started coming in and kept coming in and kept coming in. And I was like, hey, Mona, how about this woman? Would you take this woman? Hey, how about one more? How about one more? And by the end of it, she had 8 women in her pack. She had never met any of them before. And same story with Hannah Zerlang. She was like, I'll take whoever you give me, send them my way. And they both ended up with large packs full of women they'd never met before, and just hearing them share about how people got to know each other and hearts connected and the unity they were experiencing in Christ with such diversity in their packs of age and background. And, we should have nothing in common, but we have everything in common because of Jesus. And that was really cool. So I just wanted to celebrate that. And before I pass the mic, just say we're looking forward to spring packs starting again. If you want to lead, we are getting more and more passionate about our pack leadership coming from our membership. We're also stirring with vision about pack leaders feeling more a part of a team, and more specialized training and equipping coming for pack leaders, because we are very passionate about discipleship, and that comes from you guys leading. So also women's ministry has a Galentine's Day brunch happening on February 15th in the morning, and we are already starting to plan and prepare for a women's retreat. So
okay, I'm going to pass it to whoever's next on Mike's list so I don't get out of order here. So that'd be to Alexa.
I'm standing in for Danny today, who's not here, and sharing about the young adult and the youth ministry. So I'll just start with the young adults. We've been going for about a year now, and our rhythm before was every other Tuesday, but starting this year, we began going every Tuesday for this month so far, and it's been going really, really well. So we just finished our first cycle, I guess. So 2 nights out of the month we'll have a service night. So normal come in, hang out, worship. Danny will give a message, and then, hanging out afterwards. We'll have 2 of those. And then we started another night called Connect Night, where we'll have snacks, we'll have games for about an hour and a half, and then at the end, we'll all worship together. And so those have been geared towards bringing friends, bringing people in that aren't necessarily used to the church flow. And so, we come, we play Uno, we get to meet each other, and then we worship at the end. And there's always been really good times of ministry. You can't see me over that thing? Very subtle, Mark. And then the last Tuesday, this was our first one 2 days ago, was our serve night. So a group of us went down to the rescue mission, and Josie Jimenez preached, gave her testimony to the women's chapel, and we got to pray for the women there. And then another group of us were hanging out with their kids. And then another group back in Domingo Row, we walked the streets of Main Street, a group of 10 on one side of the street, a group of 10 on the other side of the street. And we just walked up and down, just praying for Visalia. And it was incredible. We had 26 of us praying downtown, and then 10 of us at the rescue mission. And so it's been really cool. We're growing in number. It's been more steady. like a good core group. And, so that's awesome. And then for youth group, we have been having dinner together every Wednesday. And so we'll either pick up some pizzas, or we've had a couple parents actually bring us some meals, which is amazing. And it's really cool to get to, share a meal together with the youth. And we're in a series right now in the youth group called Conformed or Transformed. And so we're talking about dropping worldly patterns that are anti-renewal. And Danny's been heading that up. That's been really good. And we're also just getting ready for beach camp, even though it's like 5 months away. But that's always our biggest, most powerful time of the year, because, kids are in school and they're not in sports for that 1 week of the summer. And so we just take that week, you're coming to beach camp. And so we're already praying into that and really, really excited. So it's been going really well.
Hey, I'm Erin Largoza, and my husband Ed and I took over junior high last June. And I felt like it was going to be hard to bring you into the mind of a junior higher without pictures. So I've got some pictures to go along with what's going on the screen. If you talked to me last May, I would have said, I have no idea what I'm doing in this role. And if you asked me today, I would say, I have no idea what I'm doing in this role, unfortunately. But God has showed up. So I feel like looking back, there is so much to celebrate and so much that he has done. And he has showed me that in our family, within this body, it's incomprehensible about what he can do, especially in our junior hires. So I want to walk you through summer. There are a lot of firsts for junior high. So in the summer, we started meeting in our yard, and we got to go over to the Ainleys to worship with the high schoolers. We had an average of 32 to 48 kids per week. Junior high took their first trip to Heartland Camp, which was a huge deal. We took 29 kids up there for just junior hires and some counselors. And these counselors, when I say the body of Christ is showed up, these adults gave a week out of their summer, a whole week, to hang out and work with these kids. My husband figured out how to play a movie on our patio while kids were in the pool swimming. We connected with Gleanings for the Hungry, which was a first for me, and we had a lot of eager kids serving there, packing soup alongside groups that were there working the whole week, and we just fell in love with the place. The members of our church they run the place. And we have Steve Whitmer here, who helped start it. And all these connections of our kids being able to make connections within our church body and things that we've been a part of for a long time was just overwhelming. We took a trip to the Quia Lake with kids who hadn't been to the lake before, and I don't have a boat, and when we call people in our body, it's like Dan Sear, who I knew when I was a kid, showed up with his houseboat, got a new stovey thing hooked up to it so he could cook us hot dogs and then teach kids how to drive his houseboat while pulling people behind it. It's like he doesn't have a junior hire. I mean, he just shows up. And there were some Zerlings that I've only met once in my life. Jonathan and Emily, they didn't know me, and I didn't even know what they look like. And they show up on the lake with their boat to meet us at the dock to pick up junior hires they don't know and take them around the lake. And it's it is incredible. These people, besides, we had Clay and Matt, and they showed up with their boats, and they zipped them around. And these things, it's not like they're just events. Kids are connecting through events. So they don't want to sit around a table and talk the same way as adults kind of enjoy. So these opportunities are ways that they really dig in. And even if they don't know those adults, they felt love from them, and it made an impact on them. So moving into fall, we moved over here to the Radiant Kids building. High school moved over here, and we moved with them. We're over in the large building. We had the same number of kids show up, and we have over there, we meet up and walk over to worship with high school, and then we head on back. But within the fall, I wanted to highlight, sorry, I'm getting distracted. We had our first all-nighter, which is something the kids wanted to do, and we didn't have to do that alone. we were invited by Grace Community Church to go with them. And so we were able to join up with friends of the larger church body and spend an all-nighter at McDermott, which I barely remember because it was so painful to stay up. I was trying to talk to Dahlia, like, who came? Because that hurt. We were able to host booths in Tulare at the Jack Lantern Jubilee. We had a Friendsgiving feast and parents brought food. We got to go back to Gleanings for the Hungry in November, which we're eager to go back as many times as possible. And moving into winter, maybe. Mike? Anyway, moving into winter, we got to have some Christmas celebrations. We got to wear pajamas. And this weekend, leaving tomorrow, we're going to go to Hume Lake, which is another first. And with that, we have some incredible adults, John and Jen Foley. I don't know if they're here, but they have given their weekend. They don't have junior hires either. But John has shown up since June to play with these boys, roughhouse with these boys. My husband, will play football with them, and he's not going to act like they're a kid that can't be beat. Like, these boys get men speaking into their lives on a weekly basis. They show up every Wednesday. They show up on these events, and they're going to show up at Hume Lake this weekend, where they get to hear from a speaker, and they get to be away from distraction. And I don't know. I couldn't name all the people that have helped put everything together, and I don't even want to try, because God's knitting things together without my knowledge. So as much as I have no idea what I'm doing, God's doing it. So thank goodness. Thank God.
I feel so weepy because I just love the house of God and his people. And I have 3 junior hires, and when my daughters found out that Jen Foley was going to be their cabin leader, they were so excited. And Benjina said, "Oh, and her husband is the one that always brings us in. But he doesn't just bring us in, he really cares about us." Those were her words. So it's just so good. So worship, I'm going to share about worship. First, I just want to say it's such a joy and honor to serve you guys and to serve and lead and love on our worship team members. We have such a huge crew of just incredible people. And it is a joy, but it's also something I take very seriously and prayerfully. And a part of my responsibilities, one of my roles and responsibilities includes sort of choosing who will be on a team and who will serve. And there's such a draw for musicians here and so many people that are gifted. And that's kind of a hard part of my role. And I don't do it by myself. I have other people help decide, but just really praying and discerning who would be on the teams. And there's a lot that kind of goes into that. It's a call to lead worship, and it is a leadership role. And so, God will sometimes call and highlight people, and I don't understand why the timing is or isn't for certain ones, but someone that I really want to celebrate this year is a man who's served this body for a lot of years, and a man of God. And if you ever sit by him, he has such a gorgeous voice. You sit by him during worship, and he serves and leads his family first. And God has just highlighted him this year and brought him up. I've had him on paper for 3 years and have wanted to put him on a team. And for whatever reason, I go to call and it's nope. But this year, Chris Seitz has led us so well. And I'm just so excited about what God is doing in his life and the timing and how he leads us as we all look to just honor God in worship and song as a corporate body. And just grateful for what God's doing in your life. And I feel like there's going to be songs you're going to write and more to come from you as I just watch you and have watched you for so many years faithfully pray and prophesy and serve and lead in so many ways. So celebrating Chris Seitz and some other men, Matt Flummer and Landon Brokaw on electric and bass this year. They're so amazing and so grateful for them. And then our kids, worship teams. We've had kids worship for 2 years now, and this year we have 6 teams of people, 25 people that serve, leading kids worship. And it's like, I was talking to my husband because I was like, will you please lead a team? You're so good. And he fills in as of now, but we were talking about how it takes so much courage and vulnerability to just lead worship in the first place. But when those kids are right, to lead kids, you're on 100% all in every single moment, engaged, and you're sweating at the end. And it's just, man, it's a joy and an honor and something they take seriously and prayerfully as well, every member on that team. And this year, I wanted to celebrate those that have joined the kids ministry. There are a couple of elementary school kids, a couple of junior high kids, and a couple of high school kids that we added onto our teams, as well as the grandmas and the grandpas. I just love having the teams very diverse, and it's just part of the vision in my heart that there'd be diversity in age and nationalities represented on the teams, just to solidify that foundation of family in our kids. And so I just wanted to read these names of our kids, because you guys don't get to see them lead. Our kids do. Chris and Jenny Seitz, Benjina Stahl, Jovial Blair, Kevin on flute, Kevin Thompson, Lyndon Ainley on guitar, Janelle, David Klein, Clark and Melissa Hammond, Sebastian Starbuck, Mike Salazar, Caleb Jefferson, Elijah, Alexa, Sierra, Aaron Garcia, Alyssa Moreno, Grace again, she's on lots of teams, Jonathan Linval, Anthony Sampietro, Kinley Robertson, Jason Black, Sasha Pendergraph, Jessica and Glenn Power, and Sophie and Carrie Pendergraph.
Hi, I'm Neva. I think most of you know me. One of my pluses, and I'm with Kids Ministry, so one of the things I wanted to highlight too was our worship with our kids. And it's amazing, and it has been amazing. But what I love is not only are these people coming in and saying, you know, we'll come and, yeah, your kids are this far from you, and, you know, that you have to keep them engaged and taking that challenge. But then they're taking the elementary, junior high, early high school musicians under their wings to allow these kids who play to now step into worship and playing. And to me, that is just so exciting to see. Yeah, these kids being raised up with instruments that they play at school or whatever, but a new avenue, and really just mentored by our worship leaders and kids. So amazing. Yeah, thank you. A few highlights for us this year. One, VBS just seemed to be just even more amazing than usual this year. Deep and wonderful. We had incredible volunteers stepping in. The dates for that are June 22nd through 26th this year. So if you want to block off, you don't go on vacation, and those who can step in and help, we'd love to have you block that off. And a first ever, again, Mom-Son event. That has been on my heart since I started, since we did the daddy-daughter dances. We had such great turnout and so much fun. And you guys get to be the first to hear. So our Mom-Son event for this year is March 27th. So it'll be up soon on our website to save the date. And it's going to be Jedi Academy. So it should be really fun. Okay? So again, anyone that wants to step in and help, we'd love to have you there. Yeah, our daddy-daughter dance and date night continue to grow. We're excited this year. It's not this weekend, but next weekend. Dads, if you have not registered, just get out your phone right now and do it, okay? We need to get everybody registered for those events, okay? We want to really have everything set up perfectly when they arrive, so we need you to register. Then another plus for us was our kids memorizing Luke, the 2nd chapter this year, and sharing at Christmas. It was just amazing to have the word come from them. and just scripture and that whole story of why we really celebrate Christmas, and have them be able to minister to us, which again is one of our hopes and goals, that they take that kind of role. So that was really amazing for us. Another celebration is just our strong kids ministry staff, our room leaders. Working with them is such a privilege, and they just love on our kids and just continue to challenge themselves to go, deeper and higher and better all the time. And one of those really strong members is Jenny Seitz, who's here. This is where I don't want to be, especially I shouldn't have followed Monica, is to help more with families. She is going to step down out of her role. So we are looking for someone to take that room leader position. And I actually have some job descriptions in the back. If you're interested, please see me. We want to get that filled quickly so Jenny can kind of mentor and help that new person step in. And we were so grateful for she and Megan both. They stayed when things were challenging and we didn't have enough volunteers, and they waited till things were really smooth and good before either one of them stepped out, which is just gracious. Yeah. So they're handing over just really strong programs and strong teams, which again, in Jenny's heart is like, I need to know who's taking over. Who am I handing my, teams and everything I've built over to? So we want to make sure that we have someone step into that that's really wanting to pray and have passion for that. The other thing is just our teams. As Mark said, it has just been such a good year for our volunteer teachers. The teams have just really stepped in and stepped up to making those grades and those classes theirs, which means that we get more prayer for kids. We have more preparation. They're more involved. They know what happened last week. We have a system on WhatsApp that they can respond so that everybody kind of stays in touch when it's not their week to serve. And as you know, of course, during this last month, people have had babies and life has changed. So we have had some people step out. So we do need some additional people to step into some of those teams. And I actually have a sign up in the back, and I'll kind of guard the door as you're heading out. I'll help everyone kind of take a glance at that if you're not already on it. And the other thing is that our 11 a.m. service has grown as far as kids. Usually that was our service that wasn't as full. So for at 11 a.m., our 4s and 5s and kindergartners were together in a single class. We're going to split that. So we actually need a whole new team of 10 too for our 4 and 5-year-olds. It's just getting a little too big, and we feel like we would like to do a little better job and involve them. And when we talk about kids, not only are we really pouring into kids, but to look at what makes Radiant sticky. How do we help people come and want to stay and get involved? And I had 2 stories this week that I thought were amazing I wanted to share about just, again, all of you as volunteers, your impact. One was we had one of our members stop me Sunday, and she goes, I just got to tell you what happened. She goes, sitting next to this couple, I didn't recognize them, and asked if they were new, and they had been here just a little while, and kind of said, well, how'd you choose Radiant? Well, what caused you to keep coming back here? She goes, she said, and I don't know if it was a 2 or 3-year-old, my little one came home talking about Jesus. And she said, I want to be at a church where my toddlers come home and they're talking about Jesus. And it was just like, yes. I was just telling Katie, how exciting is that for our 2 and 3-year-old class? And then another story was similar, was a family was looking for a place to go. They've been church hunting, and basically telling their kids, so these aren't real little ones, we will go, but we will let you have, and you will go, but we'll let you have some input on where we go. Okay, so trying to find a place where their kids wouldn't be too miserable, let's say, because they were really not too excited to do this. And left Radiant kids, and they kind of were getting in the car and kind of said, well, and, they don't want to appear like they could like it. They go, well, it was okay, but if we have to go somewhere, here's where we want to go. So it was just like another win. I mean, for kids that know that they're going to have to go somewhere, not used to church, or have been in church and don't want to go back. This is where they chose out of all the, churches they had gone, because something happened in class with our teachers to make them feel either wanted or, it was interesting, or they saw something in a new way that they hadn't. And so the impact is not just only with our own kids, which we want it to be, but it's one of those sticky things that brings families in. And if their kids connect, as parents, you're going to be where your kids are happy and where they're going to connect. So we just really appreciate all of you who have, stepped in. So don't miss out. Hit the sign up on your way out.
Okay. My wife, Deborah, leads Heritage Ministry here at Radiant. That's the ministry toward fostering and adopting families. She couldn't be here tonight, so I'm going to do the little update there. I'm part of the support team that helps her lead. And we currently have 21 families in our church who are either fostering or adopting or have fostered or adopted, along with 5 CASAs, 5 court-appointed special advocates. In those 21 families, we have 30 kids in our church, 30 kids who are either in foster care and a part of our church family or who have been adopted and are part of our church family. As we've talked to other churches locally, we haven't seen anything like that. The Lord's doing something here, and it's really, really exciting. In 2019, in March, we did a family outing, which was an outing specifically set up just for these families and their kids. Plenty of support, plenty of help, plenty of fun, plenty of food. And really just set up for families who sometimes have a hard time going to someplace social and fun, because as I can attest to now, adding 2 little kids to the mix and having 4, it's chaotic. And some of our kids who join our church family through fostering or adopting, they just tend to react a little bit differently at times to some of the stimulus that some of our kids have grown up in our families since they were born don't react to. And so it can be a little stressful for fostering or adopting families to go places. So we made a special family outing a couple of years ago and have kept it going. That's just for these families to say, hey, it's safe here. Like, you can be you. Your kids can run crazy. We know that's going to be the case, and we're going to set up as much fun as we can for it. So that's going to be a regular part of our future as well, the family outings. In April this last year, we hosted an Empowered to Connect simulcast, and that is a webcast that we do alongside a group out of the Texas area with training in something called TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Intervention. And basically, it's training for families on how to parent kids from trauma, how to parent kids from hard places. Because there are some differences there, and really the goal of that whole program is learning to connect before you correct and learning to build connection so you have relationship. I know for my wife and I, it's been a huge thing. We got to be a part of it for a couple years before we welcomed our girls in, and it's been just kind of life-changing for our transition. We're very thankful for it. And this year, again, we're going to host an event similar. That group is not doing the live webcast again, and so we're setting up right now to get the videos from last year to be able to kind of host it and do it ourselves, and maybe even space it out so it's not all day Friday, Saturday, which is kind of tough, but can be spaced out over a couple weeks, a couple hours a night over that stretch of weeks, because we really think more folks, like, we would love if a lot of our kids volunteers got to come in and check it out, because it's all about kind of learning just to kind of just work with kids from a variety of backgrounds. And we would love if at some point along the way, Radiant Kids could be talked about as a trauma-informed kids ministry. Because we've talked to some families who've started coming to Radiant because they heard, we heard you have a lot of families that are fostering and adopting there, and so we feel like we won't be so different. And so we see just some amazing things happening, and the training we've seen through that has been really, really neat and really, really powerful. In November this last year, we launched kind of a new drive called Encouragement Partners, kind of a new aspect of Heritage Ministry, which was really just something where we wanted to connect families and individuals in the church with our heritage families and our CASAs to kind of say, hey, adopt a heritage family, adopt a CASA, check in with them, pray for them, see what they need, see how you can encourage them. That started back in November. It's still in its early stages, but we really have already gotten some neat stories from folks. We're like, hey, we were having a rough week, and all of a sudden my encouragement partner called and said, hey, I've got a meal, I'm on my way, and I broke into tears. And so that's kind of our goal, is to help our heritage families, our foster and adopting families, not feel alone, and to have folks who are plugging in, connecting with them, and supporting them. This year we also plan to help put on a Foster Adoption 101 conference. So any folks who are interested in exploring the idea of fostering or adoption can come and kind of learn more, hear more what it's like, get some more feedback. kind of hear the raw, real parts of it, but also see the beauty that's within it. And then last I have on my list here from my wife is just to mention we are going to be doing the family outings again. So that's just a little update on our heritage ministry. Really, really encouraged. And one last little note, I don't really have too much detail on it, but we were just contacted by another church locally who let us know that they have a number of families in their church who want to help support foster adopting families, but their church doesn't have any of those families. So they asked, can we kind of help you guys? We're like, absolutely. So we're still kind of vetting that out, but like, absolutely, we don't mind.
I would also just quickly put a personal plug in for the TBRI training. Lindsay and I have gone to it twice. Not because we're fostering or adopting, but because we traumatize our kids on a regular basis. So, I'm serious. Like, if you want some additional, if you guys want some additional parenting skills, it's not just for traumatized kids. It has some amazing tools just for parenting in general. So, anyway, I feel like I know most of you, but I'm Sean Baldwin. Lindsay is at home traumatizing our kids based on her last text. One of them flooded the bathroom. So anyway, we're going to see how it goes when we get home. Anyway, so my wife Lindsay is at the house. Bailey is 5, my little girl, and Dax is 3.5. And so that's, I don't have any pictures tonight. Just imagine me as a cute little boy. That's Dax. So just in case things move faster on here, I started in August of 2019 last year. The title of my job is Director of Finance, Human Resources, and Legal Compliance. It's a mouthful, and it's a load full of work as well. And there's a lot to that. There's a lot of nuance to that. But I just wanted to specifically say for myself, and I've had experience in these areas for a number of years, but the specific reason, and maybe I shared this when Mike and I were stood up in front, was because I'm signed on for the vision of Radiant to expand into a constellation of churches in this area. And so in order to do that, the elders truly heard from the Lord and decided we need to build out some infrastructure underneath all of this so it'll sustain. And I believe they heard God's voice. I believe Mike and I are called here to help with that. And so it's been a whirlwind since I got here in August, but that's why I signed on, is for that. And that's where I put probably about 80% of my energy, is kind of looking into some of the larger systems that are in place. And that's, so because of that, I've probably just spent 20% of my energy plus my ability to kind of financially spitball to keep the plate spinning on the day-to-day, with finance and making sure bills are paid. So the finance team is being very patient. My financials have not been up to snuff, but I have been mostly in the business of, if I could put it this way, kind of, in order to expand your foundations, you got to do some jackhammering and crack apart some of the old stuff before you pour the new stuff. You can't just pour it on top of the old. And that is by no means to say that what Sapphire and others have done here was not sufficient. It's not saying that at all. That was sufficient for that season, but God's pouring some different and new foundations for this next season that he has us in. So that is really what I have been up to. But as a quick overview, I just want to celebrate that I ran the numbers today. Our projections for giving this year are at 97% of our projected budget, that's about to the tune of $700,000. So of our budget, we're actually hitting about 70% of that. So that's a celebration. As the days progress, and I think they are coming soon, where some of the major pieces that I'm trying to get my hands on and put some influence on is starting to lighten up now and start drilling into some more of the detailed day-to-day. I will be shooting out to the membership core here, so the more detailed financials in the very near future. So, but I just wanted to share kind of the context of why it's been panning out that way, not for lack of care or it's just there's a lot that God is kind of shaking up and rebuilding around here right now, and I'm standing in faith because I don't like
at times being in the blind on certain things. But I can tell you my heart is convicted that God has us pointed in the right direction in the long run, and he will sustain this thing. And I'm just really glad to be a part of it. So thanks for giving me some time, and I'll hand it to Jared.
Thanks, Shawnee. Hi, I'm here to report on a little piece of the constellation. Tulare update for you. We are growing, and we're thankful for your prayers. We're also thankful for your pop-ins. Several of you have come over and worship with us. It's great. We're growing. In fact, our newest member is here tonight. Stevie Rebecca Joy is here with Rachel. She's our new daughter, for those of you who don't get that. She was born on the 3rd of January. We're so excited. And we got 5 hours of sleep last night in a row. So God's working miracles, and he's with us. So I'm going to give a couple wins, a couple celebrations with who and what. Who we're celebrating is definitely our core team and our members. So there are several Tulare core team / Radiant members here tonight, and they are faithful, and they're full of faith of what God's doing. They're also missing about 2 out of the 4 weeks in church service because they are serving and making space for people to come in. And so they're sacrificing well. They're giving time and money and sweat and tears. And I'm proud of them, and I'm so thankful for them. Another who that we're celebrating, we do have new people that are coming in, kind of checking things out to see what's happening with Radiant Tulare. And there's a couple that floated in on an invitation 8 months before we launched the service. My brother Ryan, there was a police officer who was a campus cop. He invited him to come, him and his wife, and about 8 months before we had a service to come to. And we started the service. My brother did not re-invite him, but he came to him the next week and said, "Hey, do you have, is the church thing going on?" And like, "Yeah, you should come." So they came, and the first night they came was the night that we preached on prophecy, and they stayed the whole time, and they made it, and they came back after that, and they've come back almost every week since, barring some weird, winter colds and sickness that everybody's been getting. But they actually got prayer that night. They took a massive step in towards what was going on. They're not church people. They're not used to any of this, but they kind of got the DNA and the culture that you serve and you give and you love, and they've got some general ideas. And so they started texting and saying, "Hey, we're getting rid of some toys around Christmas time. Could the church use those toys? Hey, we know that you're going to have a baby. Can we bring you a meal?" So they're just catching kind of what's normal around this family, and it's beautiful. So he doesn't know it, Vince and Ashley, he doesn't know, but we're planning to baptize him this year. So we're just calling that win already. A couple what celebrations? So we had the second year in a row, we had the Jack-O-Lantern Jubilee, which is a massive event that we helped resurrect in downtown Tulare, and a lot of you were there volunteering, throwing toilet paper through hula hoops, and there was 1,000+ people that showed up, and the city was extremely grateful, and they called the next day and said, "Please tell us that you're committed to do this again next year." So we're committed to do that again this year, but I just want to say thank you for helping make that happen. We were doing these things in Travis's parents' backyard for years, and it was great, and it was awesome, and we ate a lot of corn dogs, and we had a lot of fun, and as almost like a picture of what we're doing, what God's doing with us, of breaking open some of the things that we've enjoyed and then spreading that out and multiplying it. I can just see that the last 2 years in downtown Tulare, the things that we enjoyed, the safety, the fellowship, the friendship. There's 1,000 people in Tulare that got to taste that. And so It's a pretty cool picture. We've also engaged in a motel ministry, thanks to Heidi Heredia, who's been kind of paving the way, and several people who have been helping her do that. So if you're familiar with or unfamiliar with Tulare, on J Street, if you just keep going south, you get off the 99. If you look to your right, kind of past the fairgrounds there, you'll see some motels that are really just semi-permanent residence for families who are on hard times, and there's lots of different activities that go on around there that you wouldn't see around here in a church building. And so we've been going monthly to serve pancakes, because we're meeting in the evenings in Tulare. We're worshiping Sunday nights at 5 p.m., and so we have Sunday mornings free, which is strange and weird for a bunch of Christians who are used to going to church on Sunday mornings, but it's actually pretty nice. And so we've been leveraging that space and time to go serve pancakes and pray for people in these motels. And we've been doing that since November. We started kind of masking it as like a Thanksgiving meal and a Christmas time with gifts. And it's New Year's. And now it's just normal. And so now we have relationship with people. We're beginning to be invited into their homes. We're being asked to pray. We're being given updates. We're actually seeing healings take place. We're seeing people open to the gospel. They're actually asking us to teach them the Bible, and it's amazing. And I just wanted to point out and celebrate. This is a win. We were there last Sunday, and we invited people to come to church that night, and a couple came. Johnny and Kara. Am I saying it right? Kiana. Johnny and Kiana. They showed up to church Sunday night, and Johnny had not been in a situation or a place like that, I think, since he was maybe a boy going to the Mass. And he sat through a teaching on booze and the Bible, and he sat through songs, and we've been having a family dinner the last Sunday of every month, and so we sit around and have tacos together and connect and get to know each other. And I went and sat with him and chatted a little bit, and he just said, man, we've fallen on hard times. We had a house in Visalia. I was working. I had diabetes. I had my toe removed. I lost my job. We just have hit some rough times, and this is kind of what we need. And so we said, man, we're with you. We're for you. We passed around a clipboard to join a Super Bowl party that we're doing this Sunday night. Instead of worshiping Jesus in a building, we're going to worship Jesus try to worship Jesus around a television and chicken wings. And so Johnny and Kiana are coming to that Super Bowl party, and they're bringing cookies. So they're very excited about being a part and seeing what God's family looks like and does. Also, quickly, last year, Heidi led a group of women to write out prophetic cards for Valentine's Day for women who live on the streets and women who live in those motels, and they brought roses and these prophetic cards of value and worth for these women, and they're doing that again this year. And again, we're just seeing amazing touches of God in these kind of spaces. So last thing I'll say is we're stepping in on February 1st to do 20 days of prayer as a community in Tulare. We haven't had an opportunity to kind of like preach our vision and values yet in that space, but it's obviously they're on display every week that we get together. But we're going to take 20 days to pray through our vision and values as a community, and so that starts February 1st. And if you want to know anything else, you can come on Sundays at 5 p.m. and worship Jesus with us.
Just a few things that I'd like to add kind of to the mix. It's hard to think that Steve and Becky have only been here for a few months. It's been so hand in glove. They are cut from the same cloth. We share so much DNA, and they've slid in, and it's like they've always been here. So celebrating that is a win for sure. Also, just celebrating, like, man, especially Tulare. They've done. I mean, they're planting a church and inviting people, and like the night they invite people, it's like women in ministry, and it's like an hour and a half on the women, I mean, instead of doing some fluffy sermon series on how we're going to be relational, it's like the Bible and booze or whatever, and so, I just really appreciate the Tulare team jumping right in and going right through a book of the Bible, and inviting people into that has been courageous. I'm also just personally celebrating being freed up to spend more time in study and preparing to teach through 1 Timothy, because different people are holding down different areas. So I feel free to give myself to that. So that's been a really important part of the fall, has been that I've had some time to read and prepare, because we've, had some foundational messages. That's probably what I would say. Things that have never been addressed, and having now read and addressed them, I know why pastors don't address them. So I don't know if I'm like brave or dumb, maybe both. Also, just, man, the Christmas Eve was a really special thing together, just celebrating that. I had cousins there who'd never been to Radiant. One lives in Hawaii, one lives in Washington. It was just a really impactful night for me. We came thinking maybe next year we'll put people in the balcony. Mike was like, it'd be a good goal if we could have people in the balcony, So when I grabbed the mic, I was like, what has gone on in here? There was 1,150 people, I believe, there on Christmas Eve. So what a powerful night together. I'm also celebrating. We spent a little money to update the sound system, man. You wouldn't know it because we have amazing musicians, but the sound system has been struggling for a while, and Justin and others have been limping it along. It's been bad news. And so they make it sound good out here. It does not sound good up here. In your ears, you're just flying blind thinking, well, I hope people seem into it, because you don't know what's going on out there. So celebrating all that Sean and Monica in particular did with these amazing guys who run our sound each week. It's coming in hot. I have my own speaker now. Just and also just the Who. I'm not sure if everyone's aware of it, but I just want to celebrate Lupe, who leads worship just about anywhere and everywhere. And leading consistently in Tulare, leading consistently at the youth group, leading consistently with the young adults, consistently leading worship. And also Scott and Zan Starbuck are sometimes doing triple duty. They listened to that sermon on the Bible and booze 3 times. They led the first service, they listened to it. They led the second service, they listened to it. They then drove to Tulare, led in Tulare, and listened to it there. And so there's some real heroes that have stepped in this. I wanted to just look forward really quickly, give some dates to you guys. I think some of the beauty of this is letting you guys know, or bringing you in the process. So some of these things aren't completely locked down, but I wanted to look out into the future and give you guys a heads up of what's coming. The first thing I wanted to talk about was just the pulpit, what'll happen from the pulpit after 1 Timothy. Last year, I was really impacted by our time in the disciplines, but I just found that spending 1 week in every discipline led to no disciplines in my life. I mean, it was like food was coming in at a rate I just couldn't chew it. So I just thought, man, how great would it be every year to have a discipline, one discipline that we press into as a body and train in and contend for, that we would actually take ground in it. So our discipline this year is prayer. And so we're beginning a series on prayer through March and April. So we'll spend about 7 weeks together on the topic. This comes, well, just from 2 things. One, probably a frustration with my own prayerlessness and of feeling stuck in my own prayer life, knowing that there's something more, and also aware of this great gift that we have, that we get to commune with God Almighty. And so if your conversation with God is stuck or, in need, I just want to contend for that. It seems to be that discipline which could affect everything. It seems to be that thing that could affect everything. It's really hard to choose, well, what are we going to do? Let's do the thing that can affect everything that we do, which is communion with God and understanding what that is. So the 7 weeks are going to include speaking with God, trying to expand our vocabulary, hearing from God. What does it mean to actually have a conversation, to listen to God? Asking on behalf of others, or intercession. Praying for healing based on the prophetic word that we received. We'll spend some time talking about how we pray for physical healing. Persisting in prayer. Knocking, I guess. Unanswered prayer. What do we do with disappointment in the place of prayer? We'll talk about the contemplative, or I would say pausing in prayer. Praying with faith, praying big prayers, yielding in prayer, and also spiritual warfare. These are things that I think will be exciting to address, especially in our packs, where we'll actually get to do this stuff together, actually contend for things together, actually grow together, try this stuff on, apply these things, stand in prayer in fresh ways. Also, there'll be 40 days of fasting and corporate prayer. This is me telling you, get a pizza on your way out, because we're doing, no. I mean, however you decide to engage in this, we're not quite sure how we'll do it. If you want to fast for 40 days, fine. But there'll be a 40-day season of fasting and corporate prayer, starting at Kingdom Come on February 29th, and it'll end at our Monday, Thursday meeting on April 9th, when we get back together here and take communion. That'll be a cool thing. Easter is, what's that? April 12th is Easter. And then following Easter, I want to contend for growth in a fruit of the Spirit. And I want to contend for this body to grow, not just in prayer, but in greater joy. That those things would actually go together. And so we're going to be talking about what C.S. Lewis called the serious business of heaven, which is joy. And contending that's a huge part of our witness to a watching world, is how we carry ourselves. And so obviously these two areas for me are just personal. I want more prayer and I want more joy. And so I don't know if you do either, but you're stuck with me. So April 19th through June 7th, we'll be contending for joy. Also wanted to bring an update to the elder process. We've gotten feedback from a number of you, but Gunnar and Deborah are actually going to share with the body this Sunday, February 2nd. Nolan and Megan on February 9th. And then Danny and Colleen will be sharing with the body on February 16th. We're aware that if you don't take the stage often here, it's just hard to get to know people. So this will be a chance for the body to get to know them, for them to share their hearts for what it means to be an elder. After that, we're still in the process of just getting feedback from the body. We care about the corporate echo. We care about a church saying, yeah, I see that. And we've received feedback from a number of people, but please take the opportunity to chime in and share what you really think. We're not just interested. We're asking because we're interested in what you really think. We're not just looking for you to nod. So please share your hopes, your desires, potentially your concerns with this process. Our elders will be installed on March 29th. Brian Mowry will be coming in from St. Louis because we like to have outsiders in this process. It's confirming for our elders that those outside of our church would also see and recognize gifts on people's lives. So Brian Mowry will be here on Sunday, March 29th, and will install some elders. So that's what the process looks like going forward. You can give us your thoughts on the way out. One other thing, I just wanted to spend more time explaining this to you, but we have a parenting conference coming up. I've been after a couple for quite some time. Their names are David and Kelly Pritchard, and they live in Tacoma. And I went after them for a few reasons. A few things got me excited about this couple. One, they're just outside of our church. And I thought in this area, it might be kind of cool to have an outside voice in, to share their experience. And they came recommended from Bo and Alexis, who pastor a church in Tacoma. But they're both trained counselors. Kelly and David Pritchard are both trained counselors, which sounds like a terrible thing for a kid, But the first thing he said to me is like, I don't believe in a child-centered home. And I was like, oh, you're my guy. Like, I don't want counselors coming in and talking about a child-centered home. They have been a part of Young Life, their entire kind of family life. So they know what it is to be a family on mission. And they've just got that Young Life kind of humor to them, where you feel like they're not, they're not counselors who hide behind their sweaters like they've played Chubby Bunny before. And that's important to me. They have 11 children, and they've been guardians. They've been guardians for dozens of other kids. So they have a habit of taking in foster kids or kids from the community that needed some help for a time. So I don't even know how that works, but I'm fascinated with how their home became a home for all of their kids' friends. And so I'm interested in that and how that works. They wrote a book called Dare to Go Public, where they talked about kids thriving in public school. And they've been pretty vocal about taking essentially your kids off the mission field. So I'm super interested to pick their brains on how they did that and how they feel like it's possible for kids to thrive in a public school setting. Also, I nabbed them because of the issue of sports. So one of their sons is currently the offensive coordinator for Stanford, and he was a quarterback for Stanford. Another son played linebacker for the University of Washington. So they have kids who've competed at a really high level, and they told those coaches, our kids will not play on Sunday. And then they were told as parents, your kids will not play at the next level if they don't play on Sundays. And they said, well, we'll see about that. So I'm interested in how they navigated the sports conversation. I'm interested in how in the world you pull off 11 kids. I think there'll be a huge blessing because they've fostered and they've adopted. I think there'll be a huge fit because of the humor that comes with Young Life and all of that. We're going to give it a go and see what they have for us. So that'll be a Friday night and a Saturday morning, but I'd encourage you to be here. I'm interested in what they've got to say. They've got some stuff. And I think he's a big, Samoan kind of dude. So apparently he's all right, but his wife's amazing. That's what Bo said. He said, he's all right, but the wife, she's great. So, lastly, wanted to point your attention to the Alpha Marriage Course 2.0. So we're going to run the Alpha Marriage Course again for those of you who didn't have a chance to participate. The good news is, and this is great news, they updated the videos. So they're releasing the content. We can all agree was helpful. Spending time intentionally pouring into our marriages was helpful. Those videos were not helpful. And so they've updated those videos. We're excited to pursue that. That'll be the 6 weeks following Easter will be the Alpha Marriage Course 2.0. So maybe you got to do it, maybe you didn't, but there are people that you have in mind, start praying in that direction, because we're going to do that as well. I'd like to take just the 20 minutes here that we have. Did this thing go to 7:30 or 8? Yeah, I just wanted to open it up to hear if there were any questions. Some of those maybe could be answered, or just I guess are there any sort of itch here in the body that we could scratch? Mike, what's your itch? Yeah. Yeah. And George, which is our son's best friend. Yeah. It's just, there's so many connections. But to know that we're there, I mean, we could be in Santa Cruz, we could be in all these other places, but we're in San Francisco, which is a very, very hard city to reach. And Tom is there, and I know there's a team. We have we have other friends that are there. And it blesses me. And then also to see that we're, okay. And also to see that we're in Tulare, and which is obviously closer to home. But I've just been observing the last few years all the things that have happened in Tulare, the dissension, and obviously the hospital closed down, and there was just all this backbiting, and there was so much, fractionalism and difficulties. And, Shelley and I would talk about it all the time, like what's going on in Tulare. Every time we turn around, something's closing down. There's people that are filing lawsuits. And here comes Radiant opening up in Tulare, and I heard incredible stories and people coming and just, and I just thought of the scripture that, I've come to the brokenhearted. I've come to heal the brokenhearted. I've come to give liberty to captives. And it just blesses me that our church could be in some nice little suburb and, somewhere, but we're out there where the needs are high, and it's really encouraging to me. So that's what I wanted to say. Any other questions? Great. I just given time, Sometimes it takes a little time to work up the courage, because we all know there's such thing as a dumb question. So it takes guts. So anyway, we'll be here. Yeah, Phil, are you just making this up because you feel bad for me? We'll see. Ask your question.
Do you have at this point like another church plant vision?
Do you have a church plant in you, Phil? Dude, Phil is a great pastor name. Pastor Phil. I need to talk to Pastor Phil. What about? I don't care. No, I will say, we're learning a lot. The first 3 months, we've been speculating about this for a really long time. So to actually do it, figuring out what works, man, it's been quite an education. So I do know we're learning a lot about what does and doesn't work. and in what ways does being connected to Visalia serve Tulare, and in what ways is being connected to Visalia in the way of what God's asking Tulare to do? So, no, the next city has not been like named, but we're just really thankful. I heard someone once say that I'd spend 10 years pioneering, I'd spend 10 years developing, and then we'd spend 10 years multiplying. That's how that kind of works. And it does feel like a very developmental stage where we're getting to work out, what does it look like for me to preach in Tulare, and then at the end of the meeting have someone say, so who's the pastor? And it's like, and I don't even want to explain it to the guy. So I was like, yeah, I am, sure. So we're just learning a lot about how having me preaching there frees Jared up, but also, limits his reach. And, I'm super thankful to be getting the education we're getting with the people we're getting it with. Jared's been incredibly patient and loyal in this process. So it's a really cool kind of setting to learn and to kind of fail forward. So that's kind of where we're at right now with that. We're open to prophetic direction, or what the Book of Acts would call the Macedonian call. So if anyone has a sense of what's next, we're open to hear that. Yeah. So kingdom come will keep coming. And in fact, one of the things that's slated, hopefully, is that Nick Fox, the guy who gave us, that stranger who gave us that prophetic word, is willing to come. And so he's interested in being with us. I just want to meet him, because that was, at least for me, a personal highlight. That was shocking to feel that known by someone who does not know who we are. So those prayer meetings have been off the hook, so we don't plan to stop them anytime soon. So I think we'll join in a few different things over the course of this series on prayer as well. So, did someone else have a hand? Yeah, the quotes that are coming in for the construction here are also coming in for the construction at the Linder building. I think one of the things that we want to see happen before we make a significant investment downtown Tulare is we want to see this church grow and establish. We want to see it flourish. So we're holding on to the Linder building, receiving bids for the construction there. But because of the magnitude of that project, we're going to have to see some other things take place. A group of 50 people is not moving into the Linder building. Let's just put it that way. I don't know how big the group is. Maybe a group of 50, if like 49 of them were millionaires, would move into the Linder building. But that church has got to grow. And also we'll spend time getting creative and whittling down the price tag over there. So there's some big things that need to be taken on. And it's about seeing this church thrive outside of that space. And then we'll see what happens with that space. So, Amanda? Oh, now the questions are coming. Yeah. So we have a party. The parties continue. So we have two. We planned 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring. So we'll have a Super Bowl party this week and a St. Patty's Day party in March. Outside of that, we'll look to Easter and also look to the women's retreat as opportunities to invite. But we tried to minimize the party schedule this year to make room for some other things. You can have a Cinco de Mayo party, April Fool's Day, whatever you want. You party and people will come. Hey, I'm going to pray for us, and you can find me or any of the other staff members or the people who oversee ministry areas. Especially, man, this can be like, this was really good for me. I feel sometimes out of touch with what's happening here. So it's really good to hear. Also, ministry can be incredibly lonely. So for you to wrap your arms around somebody who's pouring it out with our kids or in some area and just say, man, that's so blessed me, what you said and shared. That's cool. If you have questions or want to join up or thoughts about how something can thrive, then share those as well. Would you mind standing with me? And since it's flu season, why don't you grab someone's hand? Since we're Pentecostals and we believe in the power of Jesus, why don't you grab someone's hand and fear not? We're just reminded of that apostolic prayer in Ephesians that says that together with all the saints, we'll grasp how wide, how high, how deep is your love. And I just thank you for your great love, Lord, which covers over us. Thank you for this banner over this church, which is your love, your great love for us. Thank you for dealing patiently with us in your love. Thank you for your mercy, Lord. And just thank you for calling this group of people together. It is a great, great privilege to be a part of this. And it's brought me great joy, Lord, to be a part of this body. And so we just ask that you would continue, Lord, to do your work in us, do your work through us. I pray as we move forward to discuss prayer that everyone's intimacy with you would grow. Can't think of something better. It's from that intimacy that the next church plant comes. It's from that intimacy that the next group of volunteers get involved. And so we just ask, Lord, that we could not just do things for Jesus, but we could be with Jesus. Help us to just be with Jesus. So I pray your grace, your power, your strength. Thank you for all of these that are carrying out a ministry Monday through Friday in schools and in homes and in hospitals and working, teaching. And I just blessed, Lord, to hear about all that's going on. So bless us as we go. Strengthen us. Unite us. We bind the enemy and his scheme to divide us. And we pray for your work and your kingdom to go forth. And in your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right. See you guys.
As you're leaving, if you're not on a Sunday serve team yet, Neva is heading back there looking to gain a few more folks. If you're not on a team to serve, jump in. And also take pizza as you go.
I will wait for you. I will wait for you. Knowing that you will draw near to me. 'Cause I was made for you. I was made for you. I was made to be in your presence. Here, oh Lord, I have made a place for you to fill. So come and have your way. You're the one I want. You're the one I want. You're the one my heart cries out for. And this is not my home. This is not my home. This is only temporary. Oh
Thanks for listening. We want to be a resource for you as you walk with Jesus. So please connect with us at radiantvisalia.com. Until next time.
There is a heavenly city that I'm compelled to find. Though I love the flowers and trees and the smell of the grinding sea and all the beautiful things here